Next up, we're joined from Southern California. So that's one of our benefits of the challenges of the last year and our move to online is we can have guest speakers and some cross-pollination. So we'll hear from Alelia Parentou, the Energy and Climate Program Manager for the City of Santa Barbara, on her work contributing to online permitting, particularly for clean energy. So please take it away, Alelia.
Thank you so much. And hello, everybody. It's nice to be here. And as Barry said, it's so great. One silver lining of the pandemic is we can sort of have farther reach statewide. So I'm excited to be participating. And I'm going to be talking about implementing on-demand permitting, particularly for solar projects, as well as solar plus storage projects, and how that's worked for us. So really quickly, let me get the slides to advance here. Who am I? I'm coming at this from a slightly different perspective than the other panelists today. I'm not in the building and safety field. I'm actually in the sustainability field, and I come out of our sustainability office. I am the city's energy and climate manager, so I manage our community choice energy entity, energy efficiency projects, climate mitigation and adaptation, and all of the things that fall under those things. And my job and my team's job is to implement some of council's really ambitious goals. Our council has adopted goals of 100% renewable electricity community-wide by 2030, and then a carbon neutrality goal by 2035. And these are really important launch pads to why we have the on-demand permitting. Additionally, we are at a really vulnerable point on Southern California Edison's electric grid. And so building local energy assurance is of great concern to our council and to our team. I have this sort of very simplified grid diagram here below to show you how vulnerable we are. The red circle is circling the two 220 kV lines that come over our Los Padres mountain range. And that supplies all of the power to Santa Barbara and what's called the Goleta load pocket. Those two lines are co-located over a high fire and high seismic zone. And so we are sort of always preparing for the day that they fail. And if they fail, we're dark for a while. So we are really trying to build local grid capacity in Santa Barbara. Because of those goals, we developed a strategic energy plan. And that plan was really to identify how we could transition to that local renewable electricity. And it identified a number of barriers to entry for developing distributed energy resources, one of which was permitting. Whether real or perceived, people really had trouble getting through the permitting process. And so we saw that as an opportunity to streamline or facilitate solar and storage implementation. On top, similar to Ron, we are also working on a natural gas prohibition for all newly constructed buildings. And this is really falling under our climate action plan strategy of electrifying everything. And so our community choice energy entity, Santa Barbara Clean Energy, will be launching in October, and it will default all customers into a 100% carbon-free product. What this does is it facilitates carbon neutrality pathways, especially in vehicle electrification and building electrification. And so we are actively moving toward electrifying everything. And for new buildings, we're doing that through a natural gas prohibition ordinance, and for existing buildings through education and incentives. But that creates a need to implement solar and solar plus storage projects fast. Just like a lot of other folks on this call, the pandemic did accelerate our transition to online permitting. We had been looking at it prior to the pandemic, but once the shutdown happened, we had to make a really quick move to completely online permitting. And that's really been a great thing for us. But that also allowed us to look into what we call on-demand permitting, which is instantaneous permitting. And our building and safety group did implement that pretty quickly for hot water heating and re-roofs, and created an opening for us to look at how we could apply that to energy projects specifically. So what are the benefits of on-demand permitting? It aligns with our policy goals of quick implementation of localized grid assets, so solar and solar plus storage, and it eliminates the plan check process. So like many of you, we already have expedited solar reviews, but they were still 3 to 7 days. And so that eliminates those 3 to 7 days. And for storage projects, that's where we really got the big benefit because it reduced the process by up to 6 weeks, which was a big benefit to our contractors. On the building and safety side, it also alleviated the plan check bottleneck. We were getting so many permit applications that this really facilitated some of their workload. And so it's been really helpful for them. So how it works, we're in phase 1 right now. So it applies to solar projects that are 10 kW or under. And then we have a solar plus storage. So not standalone storage, but solar plus storage where the storage is 27 kWh and under. So any of these projects can apply for the on-demand permitting. There are a few stipulations that the contractor has to agree to, including that the solar has to be roof mounted and roughly parallel to the roof line. We don't want to get some funky configurations of solar. We do have some site plan requirements, and it must be done by a licensed contractor. The site plan requirements refer back to the building code, to aesthetic requirements that we have in Santa Barbara. And essentially the applicant is agreeing to everything as they go through the document, the permit application process. There were some really important considerations that we had to think about when we were developing this process. And one was, there's a really common practice here that folks will install something not to plan and ask for forgiveness later. And that couldn't happen in this case because it would sort of negate the process altogether. So we needed to be very, very clear that if you don't build it per all of the things you agree to, we will make you take it out. And so we have that embedded within the process throughout. And then we really grappled with how to list the requirements that they were agreeing to. Could we just link to a document or could we list them within the permit application process? But that creates a big burden to make sure that you're updating all of the requirements as they change through time. So what we did is we just refer them to the general code requirement, and it's on them to find the requirements. We've received a lot of feedback from contractors and they love it. We're a small jurisdiction, so averaging 4 permit applications through this process a week is actually pretty great. We really like it. It's only been since January and we've had 50 applications go through the process. And so far, very few hiccups, so it's excellent. The one hiccup that we are seeing, and Ron sort of alluded to this in his presentation, is that especially in the battery technology space, things are changing so quickly that a lot of their code requirements aren't relevant. And so we're having some nuances with that where the builder is saying, oh, but the bollard isn't necessary because there's no thermal impact if something hits the battery and things like that. And the code just hasn't caught up yet. And so we're working through those issues as we go. We're planning to build on the success of this by adding more on-demand offerings, including a storage-only component. So if you're adding storage to existing solar or just adding storage, we want to do a level 2 electric vehicle charging. And then as we also move towards building electrification, making a quicker process for air source heat pumps and heat pump water heaters.